The great citadel of Varethi was a fortress of singing stone, crystalline towers rising from the cliffs like frozen lightning. When the sun struck them, they glimmered in waves of violet and gold, as if the mountain itself breathed with an inner fire. But I wasn't here to admire architecture. I was a tinker, a human engineer hired to repair whatever alien technology the Varethi warriors managed to drag back from their skirmishes. Their machines were elegant, their materials mysterious, but damage was damage, and damage could be fixed. Most of the time. That morning I found something on my workbench that made my hands go cold. A set of armor. Massive, ornate, and unmistakable. The armor of the Varethi queen herself. Its once shimmering plates were cracked, scorched, and partially melted. 3 segments looked as though they'd taken the full blast of a plasma cannon. The fractal filigree running across the chest was split clean through, symbols of royal lineage torn apart by battle. I hesitated before even touching it. No one told me this was coming. No one told me the queen had been injured. No one told me I was expected to repair it. I swallowed hard. Every Varethi citizen bowed when she passed. Her guards spoke her name only with reverence. She was more than a ruler. She was a living emblem of their war-forged dynasty. And they had put her armor in the hands of a human outsider. Relax, Finn, I muttered to myself. Metal is metal. Circuits are circuits. Except this wasn't metal. Or circuits. Not in any way humans understood. I activated my scanners and watched as a lattice of spectral readings traced the armor's internal structure. Every plate was a composite of memory-reactive alloy and crystalline microchannels. The damage wasn't just surface level. The deeper layers had buckled from thermal shock, and some of the inner runes, symbols that carried encoded commands, were unreadable. This was going to take days. Maybe weeks. Maybe I was going to die trying. I set to work immediately. Varethi armor didn't mend with welding. Instead, it required what they called resonance forging, matching the natural frequency of the alloy until the cracks fused with their original pattern. Took finesse. Took patience. But after 2 years on this world, I had become surprisingly good at it. Hours passed in silence except for the hum of energy tools. The armor responded sluggishly at first, like an old beast refusing to wake. But as I synced the resonance matrices, the plates began to glow faintly, remembering their shape. Soon light rippled across them, the runes re-establishing their flow. When I finally repaired the chest plate's internal fractures, it released a pulse, gentle, warm, almost approving. I allowed myself a breath. Not bad, I whispered. You speak to the armor? A voice asked behind me. I jumped so hard I nearly dropped a plasma filament. A tall figure stood in the doorway. Lieutenant Saran, one of the Queen's elite sun guard. His skin shimmered with the gold-silver iridescence of his species, and the 2 long crests rising from his head bent slightly, an indication of curiosity. Humans talk to many things, I said. Tools, engines, plants sometimes. And the armor listens, he asked. Sometimes it feels like it does. Saran studied me a moment longer before carrying in the final piece, a damaged gauntlet, crushed as though by an enormous force. This is the last of it, he said quietly. The Queen wishes it restored to perfection. I'm doing everything I can, I promised. His gaze hardened. Understand, human. No one touches the Queen's armor. Not even us. If it is in your hands, it is because she commanded it. That made me freeze. She knows. I'm working on it. She chose you. The lieutenant turned and left before I could respond. My pulse quickened. The Queen knew me. Knew my work. Why would someone as powerful as her choose a human outsider to fix her most sacred possession? I stared at the armor again. It gleamed faintly under the workshop lights. "If you really are listening," I muttered, "please don't let me disappoint your owner." 3 days passed. I barely slept, barely ate. The armor demanded precision. Every rune had to be realigned by hand. Every energy channel had to be coaxed back to flow properly. The gauntlet alone took 16 hours of non-stop work. On the 4th day, I finished the final restoration. I stepped back. The armor glowed with life again. Smooth, flawless, radiant. Exactly as the queen wore it during ceremonies, when the entire citadel bowed in reverence. I felt a weight lift off my chest. Then the door hissed open. Saran entered first, followed by 4 guards. And then her. The queen. Queen Athira of the Varethi Dominion. I had seen her only twice from afar. On balconies surrounded by legions, her presence like the rising sun. But up close, she was something else entirely. Her height alone was commanding, nearly a head taller than her guards. Her skin shimmered like molten glass shifting between blue and gold. Her eyes were bright, luminescent like the heart of a star. And the crest extending from her forehead curled elegantly back, adorned with royal markings. But she wasn't wearing armor now. She entered in a flowing mantle of crystalline fabric, each thread catching the light. And her gaze, sharp, curious, locked onto me immediately. "So," she said softly, "you are the human tinker." Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried naturally like a current of energy in the air. I bowed awkwardly. "Why, yes, your majesty." She approached the armor. Her hand hovered just above the chest plate. "The cracks are gone," she murmured. "The memory channels are awake again. You restored what even my eldest artisans claimed was impossible." I swallowed. "I just repaired what was in front of me." She turned to me, golden eyes narrowing, not in anger but in intrigue. "You do not boast. You do not cower. That is unusual among your kind." "I'm just doing my job," I said quietly. A faint smile touched her lips. "My armor is not merely clothing," she said. "It is a piece of my life force. If it dies, part of me dies. And yet you touched it without fear." Froze. I hadn't known that part. The queen stepped closer, so close that I felt the energy radiating from her skin. "Tell me, human," she whispered. "When you ran your hands across its fractures, what did you think of?" I blinked rapidly. What did she expect me to say? That I hoped I wouldn't break anything. She stared another moment, then laughed, not loudly but warmly like chimes stirred by the wind. "Honesty," she said. "Another unusual trait." She motioned to her guards. "Leave us." Every guard stiffened. "Your Majesty." That was not a request. They bowed deeply and backed out of the room, leaving only me and the queen beside the glowing armor. The silence felt heavy, charged. She walked slowly around the armor, trailing her fingers just above its surface, never touching it. "You repaired the outer shell," she said. "But did you see what struck it?" He nodded. "A high-impact plasma burst. Tri-lobed signature. Military grade." Her eyes flashed with surprise and approval. "You understand Varethi weapon imprints." "I've worked on a lot of your tech," I said. "Long enough to recognize your battlefield marks." "Then you also know," she murmured, "that no ordinary soldier carries such a weapon." Hit me like a blow. "You mean someone tried to assassinate you?" She didn't deny it. Instead, she looked at me with a strange softness, as if she were measuring not just my reaction, but my resolve.